In this lesson, we are going to learn how to divide fractions. Okay, using reciprocals to divide fractions. We've already learned what a reciprocal is. And dividing by a fraction is equivalent to multiplying by its reciprocal. So to divide by a fraction, we just rewrite the expression as multiplication by the reciprocal. So take a look at our first example, 1/5 divided by 1/4. Instead of dividing, we're going to turn this into a multiplication, and we're going to multiply the 1/5 by its multiply 1/5 by the reciprocal of 1/4. So our expression becomes 1/5 times, and we flip the 1/4 to make the reciprocal of 4/1. And then it's a normal multiplying fractions problem, which we've already learned. So there's something that we use to help us remember the order of how to change our division problem into a multiplication using the reciprocal, and we call it LCR, and you definitely need to write this down in your notes. LCR stands for leave, change, and reciprocal. So if you actually look at your division problem, there's 4 parts to the division problem. There's one part right here, the first fraction. This is your dividend. This is what's being split apart or shared. So we're going to use the L for leave with the first fraction. The change goes with the operation, with the division operation. We want to change this division operation, this symbol, to a multiplication. So the C goes with that. And then the reciprocal goes for your divisor, or the last fraction, the one you're dividing by. This is the one that we want to flip. It's the one we need to write the reciprocal of. So for our problems, if we write LCR, it's going to help us remember that we leave the first fraction alone. It stays the same. We're going to C change the division into a multiplication. And then R for reciprocal means that we're going to flip the 1/4 and make it 4/1. Then you just multiply as normal. 1 times 4 is 4. 5 times 1 is 5. Okay, so let's do some practice problems. For every problem you have, you should be writing LCR, leave, change, reciprocal. Then you're going to rewrite your expression using LCR. We leave the 9/10 alone. We change the division to multiplication. You can use the X, but try to get in the habit of using the dot for multiplication. And then the reciprocal of 2/5 means you flip it and write it upside down like reciprocal Fred, and it becomes 5/2. Now you have a good old multiplication problem. 9 times 5 is 45. Multiply the denominators. 10 times 2 is 20. I can simplify by dividing both by 5. And it's going to give me 9/4, which is improper. So divide it, turn it into a mixed number. 4 goes into 9 2 whole times, which is 8. We'll have 1 left over out of the 4. So 2 1/4 is our answer. Okay, next problem, 4/3 divided by 1/4. I want to see the LCR being written over the original expression. Then I want to see you rewrite it using LCR. So we leave the first fraction alone, change the division to multiplication, and R is for reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of 1/4? It is 4/1. Multiply. Numerator times numerator is 16. Denominator times denominator is 3. Cannot simplify, but it is improper, so we can change it back to a mixed number. 3 goes into 16 5 whole times, which is 15, and 1 remainder out of 3. So 5 1/3 is your answer. We can also do the same with mixed numbers. Okay. However, remember, anytime we're doing operations with mixed numbers, we need to have them in fraction form. If we want to multiply them, they have to be in fraction form, not mixed numbers. We learn to find the reciprocal of a mixed number, you first have to change it to an improper fraction. So, we'll do our Texas backwards. 2 times 17 is 34, plus 1 is 35 halves. We do this first before we do the LCR. Okay, you have to have everything in fraction form first. And that is being divided by, do your Texas backwards here, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7/5. Okay, now that everything is in fraction form, we can write our LCR. So leave the first fraction alone. So it's going to stay 35 halves. Change the division to multiplication and write the reciprocal of 7 fifths. Flip it over and you get 5/7. Now hopefully you can see that you can cross simplify here. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 35 divided by 7 is 5. It makes it much easier to work with. We don't have to do 35 times 5. Instead, we'll do 5 times 5 and get 25. Multiply your denominators. 2 times 1 is 2. And change your improper to mixed number. 2 goes into 25 12 times with 1 left over. 12 and a half. So dividing fractions is all we're doing is basically multiplying the fractions. But before we can multiply, we have to do our leave, change, reciprocal. And the same thing is going to work for when you have for when you have word problems. The area of a rectangular patio is 12 3/8 square meters. The width of the patio is 2 3/4. What is the height? Remember, area equals length times width, or area equals the base times the height. Okay, this is their new formula. This was the old formula. Okay, so if you know the area, you're going to have to divide. Always write your expression first. That way you can see what it is you're doing. So if we're dividing, what is our dividend? What is the whole amount that we're given, or the total amount? We're given the total area is 12 3/8, and we're going to divide that by the width of the patio, 2 3/4. Okay, it is division. We do know that we're going to do leave, change, reciprocal, but first everything has to be in fraction form. So we're going to have to multiply and add, change these mixed numbers to improper. So 8 times 12 is 96, plus 3 is 99/8, and we're going to divide that by, text is backwards, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11/4. All right. Only when everything is in fraction form can you do your LCR. Okay. A lot of students like to try to combine these together. Do not do that. I don't want to see them combined. All right, rewrite your expression. Leave the first fraction alone. It's going to stay 99/8. Change the division to multiplication and write the reciprocal of 11/4. Flip it and you get 4/11. And again, I can see that I can cross simplify. 4 is a common factor, so 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And 11 is a common factor. 11 divided by 11 is 1. 99 divided by 11 is 9. Now, multiply your numerators. 9 times 1 is 9. Multiply the denominators. 2 times 1 is 2. I tell you what, that cross simplifying sure helps out. Makes the math a lot easier. Change your improper to mixed, and you get 4 1/2. So the height is 4 1/2, and that's meters. Meters, the height. And that's all there is to dividing fractions.